Welcome to the Groceries Podcast, where we explore how smart systems, AI, and human connection help businesses grow faster and with less effort. I'm your host, Josh Jackson, founder of Red Letter AI. For almost 2 decades, my work has focused on high-tech, high-touch, helping business owners scale without adding more hours to their day. We build the systems, automation, and lead engines that make growth feel lighter, simpler, and more predictable. So if you're someone that wants to scale your business and still keep your time freedom, you're in the right place. Today I'm joined by Greg Mohr, known by many as the Franchise Maven. Greg has helped hundreds of executives, professionals, and first-time investors find the right franchise fit by cutting through the noise and teaching people how to make smart, safe decisions. He brings more than 750 franchise brands to the table. He's built a reputation for honesty, clarity, and guidance that actually protects people and not pressures them. What I appreciate most about Greg is how he empowers people to take control of their future with real information, structure, and support. Greg, it's great to have you here on the podcast.
Josh, thank you very much for having me today. It's an honor.
Absolutely. So I'd love to just kind of start off with, I know a lot of people, when you hear the word franchise, I think they have an idea of what it means, like, okay, McDonald's, Chick-fil-A, big brands like that. But what is a franchise? And tell us a little bit more about the opportunity there.
Well, Josh, what a franchise is basically is what you're doing is you're leasing or renting a business model. The franchisor has already developed their model over the years, already made the necessary mistakes, so they know what not to do, and now they know what to do. So basically what you're looking at, whatever kind of franchise it happens to be, whether it's, $1 million McDonald's or, working in senior care, your franchise fee is going to be around the same price, $50,000 give or take. And that gets you that franchise model that you are renting, step-by-step playbook and procedures to make certain that you're as successful as you can be.
Awesome. And then, you said that, and I said in the opening that, you work with 750 franchises. That's a lot. But my question is what's the biggest mistake people make when they think about buying a franchise?
Really, first of all, when you first start thinking about it, Josh, is you got to be thinking about what is your why? Why are you looking into it? What are you looking to accomplish? So that when you go through and you start looking at a franchise and going through all the details with the franchisors, is that you know what your goal is and what you're trying to accomplish, and can that franchise get you to where you want to be? One of the other bigger mistakes I see is that when you are going through the process of talking to franchisors and you're learning about that franchise system, is talk to as many franchisees as you can, get a real clear view of how that franchise operates. And what you're looking at is, how much can you make? How long does it take to get there? And really important is, what do you got to do to get it? Can you picture yourself doing it? Talk to 10, 15 or more franchisees. I talked to a franchisor once and I said, my guy, he's talking to a couple franchisees, but he wants to talk to, a few more. And the franchisor came back to me and said, well, most people talk to 2 to 4 franchisees. It's like, well, not if they come to me, they're not, because that's 2 to 4 franchisees. It ain't going to cut it. So he's going to be talking to 10 or 15. So be prepared for that, or be prepared that we walk away.
Right. I mean, that makes sense. And then in our previous call, you mentioned, and I found it fascinating, that services like plumbing, HVAC, those home services, those are really big right now. So why do you think people are choosing these essential services?
Security, for the most part. What a lot of my people are looking for these days, Josh, is really that long-term security. What business can they get into that almost everybody needs on a regular basis? That's been around forever, maybe not forever with plumbing and electrical, because one point in time we didn't have it, but it's going to be around in the future forever. So they're looking at where you've got a real wide spectrum of clients. It doesn't really matter too much how much they make, because if they're, HVAC goes out, air heating or air conditioning goes out, they're generally going to want to get that fixed. So they're really looking for those essential services that are absolutely needed on a regular basis. And that also goes into healthcare systems and senior care systems as well, but really around the house. Every homeowner is going to need, generally speaking, every homeowner is going to need plumbing, electrical, heating, air conditioning, repaired, fixed, replaced at some point in time.
Yeah, especially if you're here in Arizona where I'm at
Yes.
right now. If your AC goes out, you ain't staying in the house, you're going to a hotel and you're calling somebody to come out and fix it now. now. Like it's a health hazard. You can't stay in the house, right?
That's true.
So I got a question. Like, so how did you get into franchising? Because I know when you're 5 years old, it wasn't your dream job to be a franchisor, teach people franchising. So like, what got you into this industry?
No, Josh, my dream job at 5 years old was to be a herpetologist. And for those who don't know what a herpetologist is, it's one who studies reptiles. I love the reptiles, snakes,
That's awesome.
lizards, and all that. That was my dream. That changed a little bit. Basically, when I turned 16, back when I was in high school, most of us at the time, back in the late 70s, we got jobs at fast food places. And at the time, mine just happened to be Taco Bell. I think I knew the owners and they were hiring at the time. So I said, good a job as any, I'll take it, make some money. And it turned out that I actually started working for the lady that owned 50 Taco Bells, a master franchisor. And I had no idea what the word franchise or franchisor really was at the time. But I moved up in that chain and started managing the restaurants and got to know her. And she's like, yeah, like 50. And I was like, well, that's pretty cool. And it was great because, I could go in there and I could help her build her teams. And any restaurant you went into, they're always the same structure, always the same policies, procedures. You make your beans at this point in time. This are the ingredients you put in. These are the amounts that you put into the tacos, burritos. It was great, very simple. That was my first foray into it, and then I went on to manage restaurants for 15 years, other restaurants as well, and became a microelectronics circuit engineer for 15 years. But after 30 years, I got out of that world, the corporate world, and like many of my people, corporate refugee right here. And I said, I don't have the latest, greatest idea. But boy, when I was working at that franchise, that Taco Bell franchise, that franchising thing was pretty cool. I said, I want to go back and do that. So with the help of a franchise consultant, I found a great franchise and ran that for a while, never looked back, but said at one point in time, you, franchise consultant, I like what you do. Teach me that. So got into his organization and haven't looked back since.
That's awesome. Do you still have your franchises?
No, actually, I sold off my franchise.
You sold them?
After a couple of years of doing that. It was a Scully Mitchell telecommunications consulting franchise where I help businesses with their telecommunications needs. Dennis Scully, who runs it, actually expanded out to all sorts of cost-saving services on those. I did have to go out and talk with business owners on a regular basis, driving around during the day, and I thought that was a lot of fun. Got to talk to a lot of interesting people, but a lot of driving. And I said, that franchise consulting thing, I got to do that from home, the comfort of my own home, and I don't got to drive anywhere. So I like that. So
right.
Off with the Scully Mitchell telecommunications consulting, and I got into franchise consulting instead. So better use of my time, especially since I live out here in the middle of nowhere, and it's kind of a drive to get to anywhere with big populations. So I like doing this.
Right. So Craig, you call yourself the Franchise Maven. So tell me, what does that mean, and who are the people that you help the most? Like, who is it that looks for franchises?
So Maven, a gentleman came up with that name for me a while back when I first started. I first called it, Mohr Inc., Mohr Consulting. Not very inventive. He said, we got to come up with another name. So I believe Maven at the time was what he said was one who gathers and dispenses information on that. And I like that idea, because that's what I like to do, is educate people, not sell them, but educate them. One challenge with that communications consulting franchise is that, or telecommunications consulting franchise, is that it wasn't broke. So most people didn't want to fix it. So you had to be a really good salesperson to get that done. And I've got to admit, salesperson I was not great at. So this one is where I help people, educate people, my big thing. So who do I help and who wants it? People that are looking to there's quite a few different people in there that I get from various walks of life, but they're all looking at becoming business owners, becoming entrepreneurs. And like me, they don't have the latest, greatest idea, and they feel that having a proven system and a proven model in place where they can just step right in and take off from day one is a much more appealing than trying to figure out how to do something or what to do on their own. So I have entrepreneurs, potential entrepreneurs anywhere from, they might have $100,000, $200,000 net worth, all the way up to, I just got a lovely lady the other day that has a $12 million net worth. It's like, wow. Go find yourself a hobby. You got plenty of hobby. And so she put me in my place. She said, this is my hobby, is building businesses. So, okay, I stand corrected. Great hobby. I love it. Let's help you out.
Yeah. Hobbies usually cost money, right? So in her case, hobbies are making her money, which is awesome. That's really funny.
Yeah.
So, in my notes, I wrote down this thing, and you have to tell us more why. But you said that you said the word scare. I scare away 3 out of 4 people. So, A, how do you scare them away? And B, why do you do that?
So, Josh, I get 4 people that I'll introduce to a franchisor.
Right.
1 person will invest in the franchise. 3 people will walk away. So I scare them away by providing them with every little bit of information they need to make an informed decision one way or the other. I've got franchise attorneys that also let them know what they're getting themselves into, making certain that they are okay with it. So I scare them away by saying, you're going to, like I said, when you talk to the franchisees, find out what it is a day in the life of a franchisee like and make certain that you're okay with that. And a lot of people come into franchising and they think they want to do it, semi-passive, manager-run type thing, semi-absentee. So I tell them to go find out exactly what semi-passive or semi-absentee means for any particular franchise you have. Some are a little bit more, manager-run, semi-passive than others. So quite often what happens is my people realize that there is a fair amount of work that's going to go into starting your own business, even with the franchise. So you've got to make certain that you're prepared to give up that time. What are you willing to give up to win in the next 12 to 24 months? And one of the things has got to be time. Obviously, you're giving up money as well because you're investing in it. But the big thing for people is that you've got to give up a little bit of time to begin with in order to get that business up and running. They've got the playbook. You can get a manager in there right away. If you're good with teams, you've hired people before, it's going to be a pretty simple process for you to get in there. But you're still going to be spending a little bit of time, 10, 15 hours a week, depending on the franchise. We're going to make certain that you know exactly what that is. And that's what I do by educating people and letting them know what they're getting themselves into. And it's quite often some of those people, those 3 out of 4, have come back to me over the years because now was not quite the time. They put themselves in a better position, come back to me, actually 2 or 3 years. 3 years was my max. Somebody came back to me after 3 years and said, I'm ready now. I got everything all in place. We're good to go. Let's do it. But really, I scare them away by really letting them know and getting them educated on what exactly their involvement is going to be with the franchise, making certain that now is that time for them to get involved in it.
Right. So you mentioned the word team, and I want to touch on that for a sec because I think a lot of people have this idea, this is this is going to cost millions of dollars. B, do I need lawyers? Do I need funding? How do I find employees? Like, how much of this do you help people with, and how much do they have to do on their own?
So as far as the investigation process goes, Josh, I've got the funding people. Funding is simple. You've got, high 600, 700 score or greater than that. Funding a franchise is very simple. My people fund franchises all the time. The franchises have that proven track record of success, which is why you're getting involved in that in the first place. Mm-hmm. So that part's pretty easy to do, as long as you've got the money for it, the net worth for it, and we'll work that out. So that only the franchises that I bring to you will be the ones that we are qualified financially for. So that part's pretty easy. Along the way, I also have franchise attorneys. I have a list of 3 of them that I can send out to you. Pick and choose which one you want. They're going to go through your documents. They're going to let you know, again, what are you getting yourself into? And if there's not a whole lot that can be negotiated with franchise agreements, but if there is, that franchise attorney is going to know. And quite often my franchise attorneys will come back with addendums. And franchisors, some things they'll work with you on for that one. Now, for employees, at that point in time when they need employees, what you're going to be doing as you talk to the franchisors is finding out how they're going to help you bring in those employees, help you find those employees. So you want to really make certain that that franchisor's got a good process in place to help you with that. Now, I've got tons of great people like you, Josh, who help businesses out with doing the AI and getting away from the $10 an hour things and making certain they only spend time on the $10,000 an hour things. So I've got plenty of people like that can go out and help you if you need it. But for the most part, what's going to happen is that franchisor is going to have all of that laid out. Here's where you go look. Here's what you're asking. Here's how you filter out the good from the bad. And especially it's important when you get to things like franchises that require skilled employees, like we were talking about earlier, like HVAC, the electrical plumbing. Because quite often what you're going to need is a master plumber or a master electrician, and you're not going to know where to go find them. So you want to make certain that as you talk to the franchisor, they've got a process in place to help you find that skilled labor, and then verify that as you talk to the other franchisees and find out how well that franchise or did helping them find the necessary employees for their business.
You do a lot. And if I'm looking at franchising, I'm calling you. You do so much, you sound very expensive. How much do you charge?
At this point in time, Josh, nothing at all. There's no charge to my clients for my services. The franchisors I work with pay me a referral fee. They pay it pretty much all the same, so it really doesn't make any difference which franchise you get into. I just want to make certain that we get you into a good franchise, great franchise, so that you tell all your friends and relatives about me and send them on over. But again, no charge to my people.
That's awesome. So kind of for people to relate, it sounds like when you want to buy a house and you have a buyer's agent, you don't pay your buyer's agent. It comes from the seller. So this is kind of the same kind of feel model to it, right?
Correct. And there's no difference as far as, what kind of franchise fee that you're going to pay to the franchisor, or whether you work with a consultant or not, because by law they can't charge anything more or less depending on if you work with a franchise consultant or not.
Yeah, and so I want to take it one step further. You mentioned to me that you're building a mastermind class, and I'd love for you to kind of touch on that a little bit more on what that's going to entail.
So I thought I'd try something completely different. I give it to people that come to me every once in a while that I have not worked with throughout the years, and they ask me for a franchise attorney. I ask them, cool, you're looking at getting into a franchise? They're like, nope, I got into one that I want to get out of. And I ask them, so I try to be nice and conversational about it, what was your due diligence process like? And invariably, they missed a couple steps. Just like that franchisor we talked about a little while ago, where he said most people only talk to 2 to 4 franchisees. Yeah, that'll get you into trouble real quick. So what I thought is that for all those folks, and for all those folks who maybe don't want an agenda, don't want me to help them find necessarily a franchise, or they have their own franchise in mind, I developed the Franchise Maven Mastermind class to just educate you on everything you need to know about investigating a franchise, so you know how to investigate every single franchise in the U.S. or all over the world, because they're pretty much the same, exactly what to look for, what are the red flags to look for, what are the steps you need to go through in order to get yourself educated on franchising. Great information. Chances are you won't make any mistakes like some of the people that came to me have done in the past. But this one is no agenda. Not trying to get you into a franchise, just trying to get you educated. So a little bit different than my franchise consulting business, where we're looking specifically for franchises. Now, purely education, teaching you everything there is to know about what to look for in franchise agreements, franchise disclosure documents, what kind of funding looks like, putting together a financial pro forma sheet in order to make certain that that franchise is going to get you to where you want to be financially in the amount of time that you want to be there. All that. And great class. It's going to be a great class. You'll love it. You'll learn a lot.
That's awesome. It sounds like you have a lot of irons in the fire. So what does success look like for you in the next 12 months? So if we're sitting here talking, what would be success in your eyes over this next year?
Well, I just started the Franchise Maven Mastermind class, so I'm going to start doing that one in January. It's going to be the first and third Tuesday of every month. If I could get 20 people to sign up for that, and maybe build that up to 40 or 50 people in the next 12 to 24 months, I would just love it. That would just be amazing to help out that many people and help them look into franchising and see if it's right for them or not, or just have them with the necessary tools to where if they want to go out there and look for that and make that a part of their portfolio, they've got all the tools where they can just look at any franchise and say, I know how to investigate that. When you're talking to the franchisor, you're in charge of that conversation rather than having the franchisor in charge and you not knowing, what do I ask? What do I look for? That would be success.
That's awesome. And just a couple more questions here. I would love to know if you have a good recent case study of an actual event on somebody that came to you. They either had a problem or they had a want, a need, and then what did you guys talk about, and then where they're at today?
Yeah, so the one the recent one was a gentleman who got into a franchise where they told him that the total investment was $400,000. Well, he'd spent $400,000 already, and it was going to be another $250,000 to get it going. And he only talked to a couple of franchisees who were in an area like mine that, it didn't necessarily a lower cost of income out here in the middle of nowhere. You can land pretty cheap out here. So yeah, $400,000 you could have built that franchise out here pretty easily, and probably not had a whole lot of people. But he didn't see different things and look into it. So we had to get him a franchise attorney. He was able to get out of the franchise agreement, which is challenging in itself, but he'd still already spent the money and there's no way to recoup that. So we still out $400,000. So that was one of the bad things, but that's what the class is all about. The good ones, boy, it's pretty funny when we talk about the essential services. I had a couple real estate people that I was working with, and the gentleman came to me and he wanted to do the electrical service franchise, I believe it was, and he wanted to do that, semi-passive manager running part-time. And he got his wife involved. She handled all the real estate rentals. She handled that part of the business, but she wasn't going to do anything. But she was on the calls and she asked a lot of great questions. And as they were going through the franchise investigation process itself, towards the very end, she stood up and said, "We're not going to run this semi-passive. I can do that. I've learned everything there is to know about that. Nothing. I can handle that. So we're going to do it. I'm going to do it full time, and we won't worry about him. He can just do his job. I'll take care of that." And she ended up being a rookie of the year after a year of doing that. So that was kind of amazing. She was pretty funny. Yeah, very ambitious.
He sounds like it. Yeah. So just a couple more questions, and we'll wrap up here. And I always like asking this question, and I always want to get your first response. First response is always the best one. But what is the best piece of business advice you have ever received?
Be coachable. Find a coach, be open to ideas, find a mentor, get a mentor, be coachable, and throw away any preconceived notions about going into business and doing business for yourself.
Perfect. Very well said, and very hard for a lot of people to do. Everybody has their special circumstance. That's not going to work for me. But it worked for them, and you're asking for their advice, so you should probably listen to it, right?
Good point.
And then my second last question is, if you had a chance to talk to your 15-year-old self, what would you tell him today?
Buy that Taco Bell. You're working at Taco Bell when you're 16. Stay with that and then go buy one of your own. That's what I would have told him, because Taco Bells are still out and about. People still love them. Fast food's still good. Food restaurants come and go all the time, but there's some of those fast food, like, the Taco Bells, McDonald's, they're around forever. I had told him, stick with that.
Never seen a franchise reinvent the same 5 ingredients in so many different ways.
Yeah, you would think there's only so much you could do with that, but no.
They keep coming out with new stuff all the time. I'm like, that sounds good. I'm going to try that.
That's exactly right. It's funny, sometimes the franchisees make up some of those recipes because of what their customers say. So when people say, well, if I get into a franchise business, I can't be creative, that's not necessarily the case. Because a lot of times those franchisees made up those new menu items with same ingredients and just mixed them differently.
I have to say this 100,000%. I'm living in Rotterdam, Netherlands, and I'm at a McDonald's, and they have their flurries and their desserts and stuff like that. And I think it was a flurry, and it was a Stroop waffle flurry. Oh my heavens! Stroop. You've had Stroop waffle before, and then you put it in ice cream and mix it together with the caramel. Unbelievable. I know it's McDonald's, but I couldn't find that anywhere else. First time I've ever had that in my life. And so I've been to a couple different franchises in different parts of the world, and they have their own little thing that they're able to do. So I found that very interesting.
It's a good point. You got to sometimes adjust to the local population, and quite often the franchisors will allow you to do that because that's what they want. They want to appeal to the local population. That's why they have a franchisee doing it in that area, because they know the local populace and know how to appeal to their needs.
Yeah. So anybody watching, if you're at all thinking about a franchise, contact Greg, come to his masterclass, find out more, call him, ask him questions. So please, Greg, tell people how they can find you.
Simply go out to my website if you'd like, franchisemaven.com. That's franchise, M-A-V as in Victor, E-N.com. Email me at greg@franchisemaven.com, or just pick up the phone and give me a call.
And where can they go to find out more about this masterclass?
Reach out to me with an email or go to franchisemavenmastermind.com.
Man, that's perfect. We will have all of those contact details down in the information below. Greg, thank you so much for joining us. I really enjoy it.
Been an honor, Josh. Thank you for having me.